In this session, we are going to discuss the digital and social innovation, especially in rural services, because as you already understood, when we are talking about smart villages, it is all about making the life of rural communities better and filling this gap between rural and urban areas. And in this regard, digital and social innovation are the crucial components in the projects that we are going to design. Here, I want to emphasize both digital and social innovation. As you already learned from Stepan, smart villages are not about digital innovation only. They are about both social and digital innovation. And we cannot say that 50% digital and 50% social, because it depends. And in the examples that I'm going to present, you will see that difference. Just a second. Yeah, and digitization can bring services closer to the customer and reduce cost and have major impact on quality of life in the countryside, where structural changes, rapid and distances to physical services, like including health and social care, are increasing. Before I start the actual slides, yeah, now it works. So I want to give some kind of context in which we live in now, and then we can proceed to concrete examples. Yeah, so inclusive digital transformation refers to new ways in which digital technologies can support social change and that can benefit the most impoverished communities. Before starting to talk about the social and digital innovation, it is important, as I said, to see the bigger picture. Today, the world is under more pressure to combat crises in world such as world hunger, health, education. This year, we already have seen the global pandemic, and the most recent Sustainable Development Goals report shows that by the end of this year, we will have almost 1 billion extreme poor people. And obviously, most of them live in rural communities. The same report presents that healthcare systems in least developed countries are under significant pressure because there are high shortages of doctors and other medical staff, especially in rural areas. And in 90% of least developed countries, there is just one physician per 1,000 people. And this is a really acute situation in rural areas. The same with education. It is expected that by the end of the year, 617 million children and primary and lower secondary school aged youth worldwide will not be achieving minimum proficiency in reading and mathematics. And as the global population continues to grow, the migration of people from rural to urban areas has been on the rise. And it is estimated that by 2050, the urban population will double. And previously we were discussing that a lot of problems in urban areas are very much connected with rural realities and rural issues that exist in rural context. And the last point that you see is that most of the unsolvable problems in today's cities, like traffic, garbage, and sanitation, they stem from a single root cause, which is the massive inflow of people, which chokes the cities. Here it is important to say that The 3/4 of the world poor live in rural areas. So the rural areas host the most, the poorest people in the globe. Thus, the increasing pressure on cities as well as the rural-urban divide shall be reduced. And smart villages are one of the ways, one of the mechanisms how we can fill this divide, fill this gap. The next point, talking about the context that we live in now and the importance of smart villages, is the food security. At the current rate of the global population growth, the world will need to increase food production by 100% by 2050. And knowing that we depend to 50% on smallholder farmers to reach global production, including them in development progress, is crucial. So by 2050, the urban population will be doubled, as I said in the previous slide. And along with this data, we will have less people living in rural areas. So these two data shows that in 30 years, there will be a huge, I don't want to say disaster, but very acute and emergency situation regarding to the food security as well. The next point regarding the context is that the balance of our global ecosystem is struggling with the rapid and uncontrolled growth of cities and acting under the pressure of urbanization. We counter that imbalance by establishing sound and functioning rural ecosystems. And for this challenge, smart villages are essential, and we need to have as many smart villages especially in developing countries, and especially in Eastern Partnership countries. All our countries are in transition. Someone is more advanced, the other one is less advanced, but at the end of the day, we are all in the same path. Yeah, so Stepan gave a definition for the smart villages, but as we said several times, there is no single definition for smart villages, and thus we will present different definitions, different characteristics. So it will be, you can collect the different pieces of the puzzle. So smart villages are communities in rural areas that develop smart solutions to deal with challenges in their local context. So I want you to pay attention to the highlighted words like the smart solutions. And here again, I want to emphasize that smart solutions are not always about digital solutions. It is also about different social innovations, and I will present different examples of social innovation as well. So they build on existing local strengths and opportunities to engage in a process of sustainable development of their territories. And when I was answering to Shuka's question regarding this generation gap or different attitudes of different generation, again, I was emphasizing the importance of mapping the assets, the strength of the community, and building on those assets. And smart villages cannot function, cannot become reality without mapping and utilizing the local assets. The next sentence is about participatory approach. So I don't want to talk more about this, but all of you understood that without active participation of community people, we cannot reach our goal in establishing and running smart villages. And when I say participation, I mean participation from the very beginning, from the design phase. When we are designing the project, when we are designing any initiative, community should be part of that process. And then in the implementation phase, because they are the ones who are going to implement any kind of idea. And in the evaluation phase, sometimes we forget to engage them in the evaluation phase, and we think that our professionals can evaluate the impact of this or that project. But it is crucial to understand that they are the main recipients of our projects, and they have to say what went wrong, what was good, and they have to give their feedback to us. And smart villages share certain traits. First, I want to define the term village. So in our countries, it is different because sometimes when we have a community which has a population of 1,000 or 2,000 people, it is already a town. But in general, like in the globe, there is one, I would say, average or general definition for the village. The village is a settlement with a maximum population of 15,000 inhabitants. So this is the general definition, but depending on different contexts, it might slightly change or vary. The next point is that according to 2018 census, rural area has population of almost 69%, whereas urban area has population of 31%. At the same time, the migration from rural to urban areas is huge, and urbanization is one of the most pressing issues that exist in the world nowadays. Smart village is a remedy for outflow of people from rural areas, and modernization and structural problems are some of the biggest challenges for rural areas across Europe and also in Eastern Partnership countries. And smart villages are very popular now in European Union countries, and in Eastern Partnership countries, we are starting to discuss this concept. And I know that, for instance, in Georgia, there is already a big project which is funded by European Union, and we expect that the concept will become more and more trendy in other Eastern Partnership countries as well. And the last point, as I said, you could see this underlying concept that people are in the core of this process, and smart villages are all about the people. Even all these innovations, this development, this transformation is happening by the people and with the people. So it is important to all the time keep in mind that we cannot develop smart solutions from our offices or from different institutions. At this point, I want to ask one question, and I ask you to put your answers in the chat box. And the question is very simple: why people leave the rural areas? Why people leave the rural areas for urban communities? What are the main reasons? So we have less opportunities to grow, no perspectives from Siranush. Yes, that is one of the main reasons why people are leaving, especially young people are leaving the villages. Lack of job places, educational opportunities, spaces and activities to spend free time, lack of infrastructure, no access to many services, lack of social interaction. Yes, so lack of job places is one of the key issues. The next one is educational opportunities. The next one is leisure, free time, social interaction, and different kind of services. When we were doing this kind of research, some people maybe they love their home village. Yes, from Nino. When we were doing this kind of research in Armenia, the main results were that rural people, they do not expect to have the same kind of quality services as in the capital or in big cities, but they want to have at least comparable services, both public services and also different entertainment activities, leisure, or public or educational services or health services. And they were giving like very simple examples. They were saying there is a fancy cafe in the capital, or there is a nice entertainment center in the capital or in big cities. We don't want to have exactly the same kind of fancy cafe, but we want to have at least the small type of cafe in our village, because sometimes people want to hang out together. And one of the answers was social interaction. And for social interaction, you need the atmosphere, you need the environment, you need some kind of basic infrastructure. And when I say infrastructure, I don't mean only the roads, the irrigation system, etc., etc. I mean like simple place to hang out with your peers. So this was one of them. The next one was education, the quality of education. Most of the people, they want to take their kids to urban areas, so the quality of education there is much higher. The other one was the health services. Like there are no quality doctors. I mean, there are almost no doctors in the villages. Like you have to pass, I don't know, sometimes 100 kilometers to get the quality health service that you need. And all these issues are somehow can somehow be addressed by the smart villages concept. And by using digital technologies, we can address at least majority of those kind of issues. Again, maybe we have all these solutions in our head, in our mind, but it is important to understand that not all the solutions can be adapted, can be tailored to the context. And it is important to have this conversation with the people to understand which option is more relevant, which option will work in the villages. Yeah. Uh, So for digital transformation of the village and making villages smart, there are three main pillars that we have to pay attention. And these three main pillars are also the main divide between rural and urban areas. The first one is broadband infrastructure. Broadband means like the internet infrastructure. We need to have some level of internet connection in the village, and not only internet but also other kind of, maybe for different solutions we would need, I don't know, sensors, or maybe we would need some kind of cloud system, etc. I don't want to go into details into these IT terms, but broadband infrastructure is one of the key pillars in digital transformation of the villages. The second one is the uptake of digital services. So there should be the digital services themselves, so people can use these digital services. But as you see, without the broadband infrastructure, we cannot use we cannot develop digital services, which will be afterwards used by the people. And the last pillar is the digital literacy of the residents. So people should have this capacity to use those services. Again, coming back to your question, Shukya, regarding this generation issues, if people cannot use the services, they cannot use, I don't know, their smartphones or different kind of applications, then even if you have the greatest broadband infrastructure, the greatest digital services, people will not use it. And it will be like useless. When Stepan was asking to find something useless in your houses, I mean, in the community, it would be the smart solution that you found. So these three pillars are interconnected. We cannot have digital transformation in the villages without any of those pillars. However, the policy discussion is often dominated by just one of these pillars, which is like the broadband infrastructure, the internet infrastructure. This figure shows that only 47% in rural, remote, and mountainous areas. This is in the EU. only 47% have fast or ultra fast broadband networks. However, a key message here is that broadband infrastructure issues should not slow down the progress in developing the two other pillars of digital innovation, namely digital services and digital literacy. So in other words, if we have slow internet connection in the village, we should not say, okay, first we need to have super fast internet connection and broadband infrastructure in order to develop different kind of digital services. Because maybe in 1 year, the internet connection will be great, but we will lose this 1 year to train local villagers to increase their digital, the level of their digital literacy. And we will lose this 1 year to develop the actual digital services to the people. So again, all these three pillars are interconnected and are crucial in digital transformation of the villages, but we should not wait one to move to have the first pillar in order to move to the next one. The same with the digital literacy. If the digital literacy is, I don't know, 20%, we should start working on different digital services. We should work with different private companies, with the state, to ensure some kind of good internet broadband infrastructure in the village, because in the meanwhile, when they are developing this infrastructure, we will come up we will have a situation when the digital literacy is, I don't know, 50%, 60%, 70%. So we have to work parallelly. And when I was presenting this, the transformation of the societies, this 20%, 60%, and 20% approach, when we draw parallel to that approach and also to this digital transformation, we should start at least with at least 20% of the people in the community. If 20% start to use these digital services, it means that it will have this snowball effect. So more and more people will join when they will see that someone is benefiting from these smart solutions. So this next figure illustrates a crucial factor that hinders the development of the first two pillars, which is the digital literacy of residents in rural areas. So again, there is no data for Eastern Partnership countries, but in the EU, you see that digital education is the percentage is very low. For instance, I don't know, in Bulgaria it is 50%, but for instance in Czech Republic it is around between 15 and 20%. So even in Czech Republic, which is like Central European country, is considered to be a developed country, in rural areas we have a huge problem in regards to digital education. To sum up this, the part of the session which was about the context that we live in now and the urgency of smart villages, I would say that broadband infrastructure plus the uptake of digital services and the digital literacy of the residents, all these three pillars ensure the digital transformation of the villages. So we need to successfully address all these three pillars. Do you have questions, or is everything clear so far? You can unmute yourself, or you can just drop a message in the chat box. Everything is clear? Yeah. Now let's go to very concrete examples. Just a second. Yeah. So as we understood, connectivity alone cannot deliver optimal rural citizen services. We need also some kind of strong leadership and political will and multi-stakeholder engagement. from business side, from state institutions, from people, and we also need the digital network infrastructure, which can deliver sustainable, inclusive, and equitable services to the rural villagers, rural citizens. So this slideshow presents a range of services that can be provided to citizens in such an inclusive, networked village. So first, let's discuss the health sector. So in health sector, the deployment of telemedicine and digital health services can allow patients to have remote consultations and healthcare workers to deliver efficient services, especially during these COVID times. You know that a lot of these kind of services were being provided via Skype or Zoom or WhatsApp, whatever platform is available in different contexts. Especially the primary consultations were happening through this kind of video platforms. And the good thing about all this COVID pandemic is that it showed that all the ideas that we were discussing previously within this concept are very realistic, because before the pandemic, when we were saying that health services can provide quality services, at least some kind of services through different digital platforms, everyone was saying, no, the doctor has to see the client, they should touch the, I don't know, skin, etc. But the reality is that there are a lot of services, there are a lot of consultancies that can be done also through digital platforms, namely Skype, Zoom, or other platforms. And I'm not talking about like serious interventions such as, I don't know, surgery or some serious medical intervention. I'm talking about mostly the services that primary the polyclinics are doing, like providing different consultancies. So this was, the first was about health, and later we will also present concrete examples from health sector. The second one is banking, like support access to digital financial and investment services for citizens and businesses. Almost in our countries, almost everyone who has an account in bank, they also have online banking, right? So most of us have online banking. We are using them for different purposes, doing transactions, cashing out, etc., etc. And previously, before online banking, most of the villagers, they were struggling because they had to pass 100 kilometers to go to the bank, to the closest bank office, to wait in the queue, I don't know, for several hours, and then to do one small transaction or whatever. But with online banking now, almost every activity is possible, starting from transferring amount to different accounts, ending with I don't know, ordering a card, like credit card. You don't need to go to the bank office to write, I don't know, to sign a contract. Everything is electronic. And this is one of the examples that digital solutions can be used to address different challenges and also to ensure different services to the rural citizens. The next one is education. And when I was asking about main issues, why people, especially young people, are leaving the villages, one of the answers was the education. They are looking for better educational opportunity. Nowadays, like the access to open and distance learning opportunities enable capacity building for teacher and education administrators, as well as these platforms provide equitable access to quality literacy, lifelong learning, and skills programs for children, youth, and adults. Like nowadays, uh, I don't know how it is in your countries, but in our country, in Armenia, during this pandemic, during this lockdown, kids were not attending the schools. So they were getting their education through Zoom or other platforms. In this regard, sometimes when people are studying online, sometimes they were going in Armenia, they were going to their village houses, countryside houses, and they were getting their education from there. And this was like very uh, great example when a person who lives in urban area and is getting the education through the online platform moved to a rural area due to some reasons, maybe, I don't know, not to get infected or whatever. But this is a nice example how a young person in rural area can get a quality education through different digital platforms. Apart from that, Coursera is available like to everyone, and there are different subtitles like in Russian, in different languages as well. So more and more opportunities exist. You see that a lot of universities made their libraries available free to everyone, and this is changing the entire, I would say status quo in education sector. So again, this was another example that we are not talking about some romantic approaches that villages can be transformed and different service can become available to, not only available, but the quality services can be available to the rural population. The next category is job search, services that can assist unemployed people to find jobs and to enhance their employment skill. Agriculture, like I will present an example from one of the European countries, but digital agriculture services can support efficient and productive farming capabilities among farmers. Um, Crime prevention, like there are a lot of applications and services for local law enforcement to communicate and share real-time information to keep communities safe. All these services can affect the lives of the village citizens who over time are becoming digital citizens, I would say. Um, and now let me and before concrete examples from different countries, I want to present this sophisticated diagram, but which is the basis of digital ecosystem. So smart villages have to achieve a digital transformation that brings out the full and distinctive potential of their specific area. And for doing so, they need to consider the full digital ecosystem in which they want to become involved. You see four layers. The first one is, I'm starting from the bottom of the diagram. The first one is the infrastructure, as I said. You need to have the infrastructure, broadband, wireless connection, maybe sensors, maybe some energy solutions. So the infrastructure is the basis for your digital platform. The second layer, as you see, the green one, is the technical platform. It can be, I don't know, a certain application. It can be the banking, the online banking application. It can be Facebook. There are a lot of villages that have their own channels, like for getting information, and sometimes it is called My Village in My Pocket. So they are getting different news from municipality, from different local organizations, if there is a volunteering opportunity or there is an event, etc. So this technical platform. So this technical platform will not function if there is not this infrastructure, right? So infrastructure, then the technical platform, then the digital services, like the concrete services that we were discussing in the previous slide. You have the infrastructure, you have the technical platform, like for instance WhatsApp, Telegram, and then you are using those technical platforms to provide digital services. Another example for platforms is like the Zoom, uh, Zoom or the Skype, etc. So in this case, Zoom is the platform, the lecture, the webinar that we are doing is the digital service, and the infrastructure is the internet, the wireless or cable internet, whatever. And the last one is society, like the residents, local businesses, clubs and associations, municipality, etc. Because these are the key actors who are going either to use these services to transfer some kind of information or service to the residents, or they are going to receive these services, like the residents who will be getting the service from health sector or from business, etc. So these are the four main layers of the digital ecosystem. And again, we have to uh, understand this structure in order to develop different kind of digital solutions for addressing different rural needs and challenges.